Alrighty guys, hiatus is over. This is the first of 8 new episodes coming up in the road to crowning our winner on June 7th. Welcome back to the Next Great Starship. Hi, I'm Sandy Gardner. While we've been away, the 12 remaining teams have been hard at work on the modeling phase. Tonight, Chris will reveal 6 of those teams and what they've been working on. Let's take a look.
Hey guys, I'm super excited to get back into looking at everyone's ships again and giving them feedback. This is a point in the show's progress where we're going to check in on the various teams and look at their work in progress in the modeling stage, give them some feedback, potentially some course correction, although most of them are doing some really amazing work. I know they've been on the forums getting feedback as well, and answer questions for them and give them a bit more opportunity to hone the modeling stage before we move to the elimination round. So let's get started on the first one.
So this is the image that we showed last, and this is the concept which we base most of our exterior work on. We've added a new cockpit, which we used as a base for our new concept for the cockpit interior. We've also done a lot of work on the interior of the spaceship. So here's some concept of the engine room, the marine loading bay, including the turret access, and the recreation area for the crew of the ship over here, which also has the access to the upper turret. And now we'll show you the progress on our interior to date. So here's the marine area, including access to the belly gunner turret, moving up the stairs into the engineering area, which has the shield generators, which you can see in the sides over here, and a few terminals with some cool information displays and such. Moving up through this door into the recreation area again, with a small kitchen over here, a table, the access going into the turret. It's also equipped with a toilet and a shower. Here's the entry into the top turret. The sleeping bunks are on the right. Going back through engineering down into the marine area, where you can see the jump seats, the boarding hatch, and the access ramp. Here's the cargo, updated. Here you can also see the updated exterior on the back of the ship. We've detailed our cargo crane a little bit more. We've added a special locking mechanism here. And here's another quick shot of the exterior. Alright, and that's it for today. I hope you enjoyed the video.
Hello Paul.
Hi Chris.
Enjoying the work you guys have been doing. It's been really good. The most recent pass was actually pretty impressive. All the interiors were very well done. So
we took a little break from the exterior because we were burning out a little bit on it. So we spent like 3 weeks building the interior completely, and it came out pretty well. There's still a few things that need a bit of extra stuff to them, but overall we're pretty happy with it. Yeah. I can show you what I've been up to today. We did a first texturing pass coming up with a color scheme if you want.
Sure. Yeah, let's do that. That'd be fun.
I'll place it in the Skype right here. This is in the engine with a bit of colors painted over it in Photoshop.
Actually, I like what you're doing on the outside parts now. That's actually really cool, because I would have said that one of the critiques before was they were almost too heavy or big compared to the body.
Yeah, they were like one big flat surface, so they felt huge. These are actually scaled down a bit as well.
Yeah, no, I like them. They feel much better for the ship to me now. I like the whole cockpit, you have a nice visibility here, and that looks like that would be really great. And then this walkthrough I thought was really cool with the positions for the Marines, and then just going up the stairs, and I was sort of surprised by quite how nice the rooms felt like you actually felt like you could move around and walk around and stuff, so it was cool. This whole, like the mechanics of bringing out the cargo size, I don't know if you've taken, but the Aurora pods are sort of like the default size, so at some point maybe we should make sure that you've got one of those to make sure it fits and does everything, because we're sort of standardizing the cargo into sort of a container system, so you know you can fit on all different kinds of ships, and we just sort of work the volumes. It was cool. I'm really quite happy. I mean, my biggest comment would be the big engine nacelles on the side, which, you know, on the most recent concept you reduced down. But in general, you know, like everything that I'm seeing so far, I really don't have, you know, a massive amount of feedback. I mean, I guess the only other comment I would have is in terms of the sort of external turrets. Right, yeah. So the one turret at the top, and then the second turret's right under the nose, basically.
Yes, and our idea for it is the access to that belly turret is in the same area where the Marines would be sitting with the boarding hatch.
Okay, cool.
Someone enters via an airlock into like the canopy of the turret. Airlock closes and the canopy slides into the turret frame.
There's some pretty awesome talent working on this show. I think we can probably have like a whole bunch of ships in it, not just one, in the actual game. So good stuff.
Yeah, I didn't consider that, did you?
Yeah. I could definitely see the community saying, I want this, and people always have their certain favorites, but I could certainly see, you know, at least 3 or 4 of the ships going around that could make it in, and I really like what you've been doing. So great talking to you, great stuff so far.
You too, man. Have a nice day.
Hello.
Mr. Roberts. Hello.
Hey, Alexander, how are you doing?
Very well, thank you.
It was nice to see more detail and progress on the model.
Oh yeah, nice to finally see, you might have as well said. SketchUp isn't really a modeling tool per se. That was one of the main problems Karnak encounters all the time. His concepts are done in 3D, right? The problem is, this model isn't exactly adaptable to the usual workflow right out of the box, so it has to be just redone, retopologized, done over and over and over in your basic 3D editor. For example, here's a Cockpit session as he's done it in the SketchUp, then just converted to the usual 3D format.
Okay.
And here I am messing around with it. Then it goes over into CryEngine and stuff like that. The problem with this workflow, and I might have been using that word a bit too often these days, is that just look at it. Karnak likes to detail his ships, likes to detail them a bit too much, I might say, but then again, it all comes down to the task he is facing. You see, he didn't want to hold back for Star Citizen or something like that.
There's a lot of detail.
Yeah.
The little panels. from looking at it, I guess the things that are missing, I'm looking from the 3D concept model, the turrets on the side, right? The two turrets that are going to go on.
Yep, and a little bit detail over
and the
here.
detail at the top. So on those side turrets, you know that simple shape you've got between the two antennas?
Yeah.
Is that just going to be replaced by the turret, or does the turret get added onto that?
Partially, yes. See, it will be cut somewhere around here.
Right,
like
okay.
this little form of maybe space for the turret.
I mean, I think the idea, right, is that turret can rotate 360 degrees,
Yep.
and then
Yep.
the gun can pitch 90 degrees.
Yep, about that. As big of a firing arc as we can realistically give it.
Right. Okay. Cool. I definitely like the direction it's going in right now. I mean, I feel like I kind of want to see obviously the turrets and the rest of that Greeble stuff finished out. And then the other big question is sort of the inside of the gunship, in terms of figuring out the space, how you get into it. Like, so, you know, does the pilot, can he go back into the cargo hold or where the Marines will be, or walk back into the turrets?
Basically, it goes like this. Here is the primary entrance to the ship.
Okay.
Then there's a kind of a cargo hold or drop board, whatever. We have designed it to be modular, so it can be replaced with 2 or 3 models if there will be necessity.
Okay.
As for the cockpit, as you see, it's pretty undetailed. We haven't done any interior work for now. But the way it's going to be done, right? There's going to be the pilot seat in the front,
Okay.
the gunnery officer, and then the commander, about up here.
Okay. So do you have any other particular questions for me?
Karnak would like some clarification concerning the missiles.
Okay.
Are there any certain technical limitations we must abide, or something regarding to the size, the placement, or the overall volume expected for each slot, you know?
It sort of depends on the size of the kind of missiles we're doing. I mean, so on the ships that we've done here, we have missile racks that go everywhere from 2 missiles to missile racks that could have 16 missiles on.
Yep, I've seen one on Idris, I presume.
Yeah, the Idris, that's a pretty heavy duty. That's like an anti-ship missile setup. The Constellation has some missile banks that come up from the body.
Actually, would it be okay if we did something similar, you know? Just...
Yeah, no, totally. I think that would be good. So on the gunship, like that area of the hull you're saying that needs detailing, somewhere around there or near the back or something, if there was missile pods that would pop up, would be probably pretty good.
Thank you for stop, Mr. Roberts.
Okay. Well, no, definitely. Thanks for sharing the updates. I'm looking forward to seeing the turrets and the texturing and the interior.
Oh, believe me, so are we.
All right. Goodbye.
Hey, 1-Bit Amoeba here, and I want to give you an update on my gunship. I decided to focus on the parts which I'm not familiar with and which might be a problem, like the hull, including the tile texturing and the interior. Let me show you first some components I was working on. So this one here is the docking device. This is from how it looks like from the inside, and this is from the bottom of the ship. So once the ship docks to the component, this collar comes out, and then opening up some small hatches here for some kind of laser devices which slice through the ship's hull and then making a breach. And from the inside component I just created a dummy before and now finalized is the ladder in the front. When it's retracted, it will be part of the floor inside the ship, and then extracting it's the ladder for the entrance for the pilot and the crew. I completely reworked the model for the Class 4 turret, so this is a final version now. Interior actually was one of the major challenges for me. I'm not familiar how to do this, so I spent lots of time to think about this. My idea now is to have kind of a modular system. You can say maybe it's like a puzzle to create certain components like these tiles on the floor. This is actually just an example for how it should look like later. And then, so the biggest challenge for me now was how to create the ship's hull and the tiling textures and the models for the hull and how this all works together. So I had a lot of work to do to figure out how this works. But I'm really happy with the result already, even though this is still kind of a prototype and it's not finalized. I really hope it was a good idea to focus on these problematic areas first, even though I had to sacrifice lots of progress because I couldn't spend that much time in the modeling. Thank you very much for watching. Good morning.
Hey, hello Jan. So I guess it's early for you, right? Where are you? You're in Japan somewhere?
Yeah, in Japan.
I checked out the video, so it was kind of interesting because I think you were trying to figure out like the best way to set up the texturing and put it together, less on the 3D like modeling development.
Right, that was nothing I've done before, so.
Okay, obviously it was just like a part of the ship, but the detail or the feel of the material and the metal that you did, I thought was pretty good. So I think this is from your sort of concept update video. I guess the feedback that we had on our side was that in general we like the way the ship shape is going and moving. I do like kind of what you were doing with the thrusters. I thought that was kind of a nice idea, and the turrets were all sort of interesting. So it was more a matter of sort of, okay, now starting to like bring in some more resolution or detail to the geometry and the shape, so it's not quite as simple or as blocky.
Right.
But overall the feeling of it was pretty good. The bigger notes on a general scale are more about the general placement of the weaponry, and the thrusters looks pretty good, and the overall silhouette or figure looks pretty good. But do the detail, what's going to happen in terms of like the interior, moving around, what are the spaces going to be like?
Yeah, right.
What are you going to do when you're landed? What are you doing for the landing? Are they skids? Are they wheels? How do you get in and out of the ship when it's landing? How do you get in and out of the ship when it's in space? So all those kind of questions sort of needed to be drilled down. We all think it's moving in a really good direction, and it's more about finishing it and detailing it out and sort of answering some of those questions that I just posed.
Oh, yeah, right. These questions are already cleared out basically, so I know where the entrance is supposed to be, and you can see the kind of ladder in one of the videos as well. So the placement of all the components I finalized basically, but creating all the stuff, that is currently,
Well, that's hard, right? You're a one-person team. It's a lot of work, so we're pretty impressed by the amount of work that everyone's managed, especially when it's not the only thing you're working on.
Actually, my idea now is to focus more on the hull on the outside.
Okay.
Because it's just more representative than having some inside, some outside. So I want to focus a little bit more on something which shows the ship a little bit better.
Okay. Yeah. So that sounds good. The one thing I would say is that I would at least do a block out. So you don't necessarily need to model it out, but just block out the inside to make sure okay, well, the pilot can come back here and to the turret, or this is just so that it's all there, because the problem is if you don't do a quick block out and you do all this beautiful modeling on the outside, and then you start to do inside stuff, and then all of a sudden you're like, oh, I got to move my geometry around, and it causes a lot more work. So, and we've even had
bunks are sticking out or something like that.
Yeah, and we've had those problems ourselves. So on some of our ships, we've had to go back and redo some stuff because the physicality inside didn't necessarily work. And so now on our bigger ships that we have interiors on, we do a concept and then we do a block out. Here's the corridor, here's a room or whatever, just to know where the locations are, and to know that the volumes are approximate, right? You can stand up in this side or whatever you can access, and then you can finish the outside out and put all the detail in there.
How do you think the blockiness of the detail of the outside of the hull itself? It's supposed to be the armor plating, right? So the one which you saw with is textured as well.
I don't mind like the bit that you did textured. I don't mind having some kind of the harder edges on it. Everything doesn't need to be perfectly like smoothed out. But obviously, I mean, for me, if I look at your concept blockout, I would say I'd like to see, much more detail or resolution on the turrets, on the cockpit area, on the engine nozzles. And I don't mind like an overall shape being kind of simple or blocky, but then you should see areas of detail on that shape that sort of give you an impression of like detail and high resolution. Because one of the biggest things that we're trying with Star Citizen is to make sure that, these ships feel like really kind of real and present and detailed and have attention to detail that you wouldn't necessarily expect to see in a game. It's more filmic than has been historically in games.
Yeah, right.
So, even if you have a base simple shape, you still should have pockets of detail that show that it's super high resolution. You got anything else you want to ask?
No, not for the moment. Next time we talk, ask more.
Okay. Well, talk to you next time round, all right? Good stuff.
Okay.
Hello, Talon Corporation here. In the animation you can see the changes to the heat shielding around the front that now retracts into the main body. The engines now gimbal much more efficiently. The back engines also gimbal in all axis, but I didn't have time to render that out, unfortunately. So in the interest of time, this animation has been cut somewhat short. You'll also see the cannons opening up from the belly and also the top. So this is much more in line with the spec. The original idea with the arms, although it's still in existence, so it's still in the ship, but now it's got the rocket pods on the underneath. And it also serves a sort of tertiary function as well. So it allows the troops to disembark under cover still, and it also protects the pod when it's not in use. And obviously the third function, which is to house the rocket pods on the sides as well at the same time. The overall design of the ship, I think, still maintains the curvilinear form of the Avenger and the kind of look of Aegis Dynamics, which I think is pretty good. And the scale of the ship has also increased quite a lot as well, so in line with the specs. Again, you can see the man there in scale with the ship. It's obviously a lot bigger, and also from the interior shots as well, you can see that there's actually going to be a lift function, kind of like in the Constellation, which is obviously going to go through a series of airlocks from the opening at the bottom. And it'll ascend right the way up into the top of the ship, so into like the living quarters, and then from there you can access whatever other modules might be put into the ship. So things like reconnaissance kind of software or something like that, or a medical bay. So yeah, again, in terms of scale, you can see that there's the original reference with the Avenger next to it. You can see that the ship is much bigger now in comparison to the other iteration of the design. There's a couple more shots that show the actual function of the pod. So they would actually hook into the hull. If this was possible in CryEngine, I mean, that might have to change. It might just be that it's magnetised onto the front, onto the airlock. The idea was that basically if the hull was breached, then the ship could basically attach onto the breach in the hull, and then the troops could be forced through there, which would be pretty cool if that was possible. There's some other images as well of the front of the ship, so just to give you a better idea of the sort of dynamic shape of the front and how the weapons and things open out. And you can see the rocket pods on the arms there as well. The arms themselves looking a lot more robust, in line with what the forums kind of mentioned, that they look too flimsy. I think that the design is definitely coming on a lot. I'm going to be obviously working with the texturing side of things soon. That'll be coming into it, but obviously primarily I thought that it was most important to get the shape of the ship down. I think it looks pretty good now. It looks pretty menacing. I'm really looking forward to hearing the feedback about the ship from Chris Roberts as well, because that's like winning a mini competition in itself, really being able to talk to the man who's behind the game directly. That'll be really interesting, so I'm looking forward to that.
Hey Paul.
Hello.
I really love what you're doing with the gunship. The most recent one that you just put up on YouTube's got some really tasty stuff in it. Not that the original concept was bad, it just was a different scope of scale. And this one sort of really feels like a big, heavy-duty, space-bound gunship.
I was thinking of having basically a gimbal mounted to guns on the front.
Okay.
Of nose, but the one thing that I didn't want to take away from is obviously the aesthetics of the front, because it's got that curvilinear look to it. But what I was going to do is basically have a cutaway section, so when the pilot wants to use those guns, the nose can
drop down,
curve away, and then the guns can come out of the front. Do you think that would be?
Yeah, it'd be totally cool. Even in the engine, it's set up that you can deploy things. So you can deploy a turret, you can deploy whatever. So it's I actually kind of like ships that have stuff that folds away and then you can deploy for action, because it's kind of a cool little detail, and it's really nice to sort of see it gives the ship character, and also
Yeah,
sort of preserves the lines of it.
Because like the more sort of animation that you can see is going to be more cool kind of thing.
No, definitely. I mean, that's a big goal for all the Star Citizen ships, is that like they themselves are meant to be their own characters, and they sort of feel like they're alive, partly because of the animation and the movement, and they, you know, they should have a personality.
I've got some shots of things I've been modelling tonight. If you want to check that out as well.
Yeah, totally, absolutely. The first one I opened sort of like this interior shot.
Yeah. So basically, in the midsection of the ship,
Okay.
It's going to be an elevator, like in the Constellation, which I mentioned in the video, and that obviously, you know, that's the central way into the ship. So again, that kind of feeds back into not taking away from the external look of the ship.
Okay.
And that lift will ascend into the top part, so into the living quarters. I don't know if you can on that first image where it's like looking down and you can see like the orange doors of the lift. There's like a cutaway section. That's a window.
Okay, at the top, right? The top section.
Yeah, and that's basically either going to be living quarters or like, you know, an area for like, I don't know, reconnaissance or something like that.
Okay.
And you can check on like the gunner positions and stuff like that, so you could walk around and look outside, which I think could add into kind of like the immersion of like, you know, going around the ship and stuff like that. I'll just flip around the camera.
Flip around the camera. Let's go old school.
Yeah, it'll probably be a bit shaky or whatever, but I don't actually know what I'm showing you there. Oh yeah, I can kind of, yeah, I don't know. This is kind of awkward. Yeah, well, the interior part is just in this section here, basically. Well, you can probably see me hovering my mouse over. So this is like that back view. I don't know if you can.
Yeah. Okay. Right.
Yeah. So that's looking down into like, you know, the main kind of cabin. And then if I press F over there. This is the cockpit. I'm still working on it actually. I'll just open this other scene.
Okay, cool.
So yeah, that's just like the sort of beginnings of the cockpit really. Like I'm just starting to flesh out like the insides of that and stuff. There's also a chair, but that's in the other model, which you probably just saw the back of before. Where do you think, like with the ship as it is at the moment, like where would you like to see it going from the position that it's in now? Like what would be the next sort of steps or changes that you'd like to make to it?
Originally, you know, even when we did the episode, I thought, okay, you know, like I thought it was an interesting, different take, but I thought it was, you know, essentially too small for the ship that we're doing. But yeah. I mean, I have to say that like the most recent design, like the profile and the front on view, it's, I think, potentially my most favorite ship of everything I've seen so far, just because it has a weight to it, right? I mean, if I showed up like flying that thing, I feel like I would be scaring some people. It feels really cool. I mean, it's got a nice combination of sweeping lines, but also like kind of techie sci-fi greeble detail, which I always kind of like. So it's got some nice, you know, to quote Mark Skelton, he's got like some breakup in the frequency. The things that I would like to see more would be continuing forward on the detail bit and really the texturing, honestly, because that would be the area to sort of add that extra level of, you know, because right now it's all very kind of smooth and polished and, you know, one material feeling. So I would say, I'd love to see taking what you've got now and bringing that into sort of texturing and then ultimately into the engine. So I just wanted to say, of the competitors, like in terms of like moving the most, I think both Infinite Shoe Monkey and you are the two ones that really sort of like made a massive, like you could really see the progress and the difference in improvement. So I really like what you're doing, so it's good stuff.
Cool, great.
Well done, lads. Thanks for competing in the competition, and we'll talk to you soon, right?
See you later.
Team Infinite Shoe Monkey reporting in. Since our Stage 2 video, we made a lot of progress on different parts of our ship. For one thing, we took some points of the community that were of concern. Like this, we came up with a variation of the scimitar with skids. Don't worry though, for those of you who like the original landing gear, we will make two fully developed variations and get a more futuristic look to the wheeled landing gear. We also went ahead and took selected spots of the ship to add some detail while keeping the main hull smooth. In the front, we finally added the sensoric array and tracking and camera system. The same under both wings, allowing for an optimal stream of information to the pilot. We always had in mind that the gunners will give information to the pilot via the intercom as well. For us, this could make gameplay even more fun. Further, we improved the thrusters. They got a new look, making the thrust vectoring flap smaller, the overall thruster shorter, and adding an additional joint. Like this, for the landing approach, the thrusters would not have to fold the full way for VTOL, and leaving more ground space, as some of you gave us this heads up. Of course, you probably already noticed the new texture, where we tried to get more of the Hornet look. But we will make 3 different variations and try to see which ones work best. We also tried out some lighting on the outside of the ship's hull, where it made sense to give it more atmosphere. For the interior, we basically finished the rough model and are already working on different modules for the inside detail at the same time. Here you can also see the boarding turret we came up with, to clear the enemy ship of hostiles while keeping your mercenaries safe before entering. Also, there will be a multifunctional unit in the main crew habitat that will feature the main briefing table that can also transform into a medical bay, with the necessary equipment stowed in the above compartments and integrated sensors for diagnostics. For the civilian variant, we also came up with this more luxurious cabin that will replace the escape pods module, as the civilian gunship will just feature a crew of 3. The escape cockpit vehicle will be enough. Which is the next thing we try to work out in more detail. If there's really no way of saving the ship, we include this small vehicle that can detach, and on top of that, if you're flying the military variant, can pick up the escape pods and fly off to safety. This sums up most of our improvements we've made till now. We hope you enjoyed watching, and sorry for the viewport preview quality this time, but render times exceed our current time frame. Infinite Shoe Monkey, signing off.
Hey guys.
Hello, hi, nice to meet you.
So looking good. There's some really nice progress. I just was watching the most recent one, which is moved on even more, and I thought that having the lamp in the quarters was a nice touch.
Perfect. Yeah, I really hope that it worked out very fine with the new iteration of the video. And
for me, I voted to have you guys go through because I thought this was it was a different enough design than the other ones, where they, the other ones all sort of felt not that it's bad, but it felt more sort of like gunship, as in a helicopter gunship, and this sort of felt more like a gunboat versus a helicopter gunship. And so I kind of like it because it sort of has that vibe of almost like a bit of a if you've seen some of the more modern naval vessels now they're building those sort of kind of fast-running stealth ones, and you sort of have that vibe with the bridge on the ship sort of being placed further back. And the things that I've sort of really liked with what you guys have done is that you've, even from the beginning, was sort of thinking about the functionality of everything, right? So like how, where do the turrets, how do they deploy, what's their field of fire, what are the inside quarters, how do all the bits fit together and work, which was also something you did on the gun design. Really thought that worked really well, and it works well in Star. So the whole idea is the ships function and you can move around inside them and it should feel like a real ship.
thanks, that's really awesome to hear. We're very glad, and I think we've really put a lot of time into that part, especially in the beginning after the first kind of blockout. That was really one of the main parts that we went into working out. So
and thanks for voting for us.
yes, thanks for voting for us. Do you have any suggestions about the overall shape? Because we sometimes got some feedback about, I think the biggest part was the top line of the ship. That it's maybe, some said it's a bit too smooth. For us, we made it like that because we wanted to have our turrets, when they are deployed, not being obstructed by any.
The way I view the ship is, it's what it is, right? So you got to embrace it. Like, you're making a certain kind of ship and it's going for a certain style, which is essentially clean lines and having most of the weaponry sort of concealed, and it will deploy at the appropriate times, which is a different vibe than, say, that big helicopter gunship with lots of weapons and missile racks all attached to it. I would caution trying to make one thing into the other thing, because you've made a design and your design's sort of pure for that. So for me, that wouldn't be the criticism or the advice I would give. I would say, you're going for this, so like this is what you focus on, and it's more about selling the details in that overall design aesthetic.
Perfect. Yeah, we were also thinking because of the detail, because of the specs of the ship. It was actually said it's on one hand the mercenary gunship with, for example, up to 6 Marines, or it can be the cargo variation. And that's where we wanted to ask for the final step and for the crying engine. Should we have both variants completely 100% for the in-engine model, or is it should we make, for example, just the variation with the Marines?
The way I would look at it is you should have one variation done all the way as well as you can, and if you have like something that switches out for the other variation and you get it, that's like a plus. It's not necessary, but it's not bad to illustrate what it would do. But I think generally if I was the community and what I would judge on is more about, okay, let me see one of these all the way to the end in CryEngine and seeing it sitting there rendered inside CryEngine in real time.
One question about the video you saw today. We put some detail into the front, actually. We have seen that the 5 seconds that we could show for the last community video, a lot of people actually in the forums were a bit confused about the front of our ship.
I thought it was too much detail.
So yeah, it rotates into view of the nose. So what's the issue is just that people were complaining that they thought that was like too much exposed?
Yeah, we were not exactly sure what
I think they liked how it looked before it was just a flat surface.
But we always intended to put some detail there, actually.
I would say that it's your guy's ship. Right?
Okay.
You do what you think really works for it. I mean, I can see how people could say, well, that looks like it breaks up the lines a bit because the rest of the ship's kind of got a pretty clean aesthetic. The bottom part's the turret, so that's fine. So it's really I think the wires or pipes that you sort of see right under the nose. And I don't know, maybe that could be covered up. Some of it could be covered up by a cowling, and that would be under it or whatever. But it's like I said, it is your guy's ship, so you should go with what feels right for the ship for you. You guys have been rocking it. You've been doing really good. So.
That's awesome to hear.
I'm super excited. It's nice to talk to you in person, and keep up the good work, and I'm sure we'll be talking soon.
Thanks for your time.
All right, no problem. Later, guys.
Bye.
Hello, Cloud Imperium Games. This is Shard Collector's report on our progress so far. As we've shown in our last video submission, we've more or less finalized the look and feel of our ship, the AX-114 Boomslang. However, due to community feedback we received in the forums, we've decided to fix some additional problem areas before continuing on to the modeling phase. Among the most common problems identified by the community were the turret's limited ability to engage targets on its tail, the off-centered placement of our main engines, and the aesthetics of the tail and the docking port of the ship. We dealt with the first 2 problems by lowering the placement of the engine nacelle connections. This clears up the line of sight of the turrets aft of the ship, as well as brings the main thrusters closer to the ship's center of mass. For the tail, we redesigned it completely to better match the flow of the ship's silhouette. Its function as a docking port and a staging area for Marines remains unchanged, except that the docking collar is now attached to a telescoping chamber that extends during docking action. For the modeling phase, we first created a very rough blockout of the rooms of the ship and imported it into CryEngine to get a better feel of the interior space of our ship. We took note of the areas that needed adjustment, which included the length of the footrest of the pilot's chair, the width and height of the doorways, and the placement of stairs in the cockpit. We also made a set of fully textured and normal mapped interior props as a test, before proceeding with the preliminary modeling of several modular parts and assembling them into a room. For the exterior, we decided to make the turrets only partially retractable at the suggestion of several members of the community. This simplifies the animations of the turrets, frees up space in the interior, and allows the turrets to mount bigger guns than the Mantis GT220. The gunners enter the turret from a small seat located directly beneath it, which then activates to lift the gunner up to the main turret body. An airlock seals the entry port behind the gunner as the turret detaches and rotates away from the main body. We also came up with the idea of giving the man turrets the ability to become pilot-controlled remote turrets in case gunners are not available. This is easily done by simply rotating the gimbal where the gun mounts attached to the main turret body but it remains to be seen if this is allowable regarding Class 5 turrets. We've also started detailing the engines and the landing legs, finalizing their animations. That's our progress so far. We had the misfortune of being in the last batch of the last phase, thus receiving community feedback later than some of the other teams. Having to revise the designs again at the last minute meant losing a bit more time for the modeling phase than the other teams. But with 2 modelers and texture artists on our team, we are confident that we can catch up.
Hey, Brad.
Hey, how's it going?
Good. Gunship's looking great. Your guy's design is one of the ones that I was most impressed with in the early stages, and continues. I really like when you decided to take it to be an Origin gunship. Just the lines of it and the feel of it, it like matches up with the vibe of Origin as a manufacturer, which is really cool. I actually think the stuff that you've done based on the community feedback is really good. So dropping the engines down a bit so you can get more of the range of fire is good.
Right.
And changing the tail out, I really like that sort of tail. I think matches up with the ship. So I don't really have a massive amount of critique other than I'm sort of excited to sort of see it, continue to get fleshed out on the inside and then sort of textured and into the engine.
Right.
And sort of the details of sort of the cockpit itself, like working out what the cockpit's like.
Is there anything in our design that you would change if you could? Like, if you had complete control over it, or?
Not particularly. I mean, hang on 1 second. I'm gonna pull up the most recent video. Yeah, so I guess I can see that's kind of nice. I like the pilot down at the bottom, and then maybe those are 2 jump seats for the gunners or something to go back, or just be in the front above the pilot.
Yeah.
That's kind of cool.
I have some additional renders that we
you can screen. You should be able to screen share out of Skype. Yeah, I mean, like my biggest, like some of the stuff that the community gave is sort of the same feedback I would do, which I think you had lowering the center of gravity of mass was good on the wings, because like right now I'm looking at that sort of 3/4 from rear shot where you can see the new tail wings you put in and the engine's down. Because like weight distribution and balance is actually a bigger thing with what we're doing than maybe we even realized at the start, since we're actually accurately simulating where all the thrusters apply impulses. But the interesting thing is it means that like actually the ships themselves are a bit of a project to get to fly. Like even the Hornet and the Scythe recently on the dogfighting, since we've switched fully over to the system, we've been doing balancing in terms of moving the thrusters around, because you got to make sure that first off that any thruster has basically a twin, and the twin, right, they all have to be about the same size, and depending on what combination of maneuvers you need, they it depends on where they're placed from the center of mass, and it's a bit of a project.
Yeah, does it take like the actual mass into account?
Yeah,
like
absolutely. So it takes the mass into account, and that's dynamic too, right? So as parts of your ship get blown off, or you eject things, or you attach things to the ship, that will change your mass and also your center of mass.
That's crazy.
And so the center of mass, obviously, where that moves around affects your maneuverability. So if you're in a dogfight and say you lose a wing, say on your Hornet, yeah, okay, it's not like flying where you would fall out of the sky, but it actually does affect your center of mass. So you may not particularly maneuver or be able to hit the same places the same way. And especially if you lose a thruster or 2. So I think it's going to add a lot of like interesting gameplay. I think the dogfights will become more, they're not going to be, it's not going to be sort of like old school Wing Commander where you just blow a bunch of people up and it's more like popcorn, but that doesn't make much sense in a big online universe where you can play against NPCs or players, because it's not much fun if you go in a battle and one shot you're dead. So this is going to be more about sort of, I think, strategy. I think most combats will be anywhere from say 2 to 5 minutes, and it'll be more about like, it'll be more like a chess game, so to speak, than necessarily just blasting away, blowing someone up.
I sent you a few links of some renders of interior, so you can look at those.
Sure, let's just
gives you a better view of the pilot's perspective and whatnot.
So the bottom is the pilot, the 2 top are like jump seats, or the gunners that would go back in the turret or something like that.
Yeah. And then there's also the entrances to the turrets. It's not shown here, but they're just behind the seats. So.
Okay. So what, you just get out, and now do you think on the top 2 ones, would that be easy for them to get out? It looks like there's not a lot of room there.
Well, they're going to rotate around.
Okay, cool. Okay, yeah, because that's kind of like what we had to do in the 300i, was have it rotate around so you can get.
Right. Something like that.
Okay, and then when I'm looking at 24, what is that? Is that the co-pilot's view from the top level?
Yes, I believe that's the upper deck.
Okay. Great stuff. I mean, tell the rest of the team I think they've been doing really nice work.
For sure.
I'm looking forward to seeing the next level. That'd be great.
Awesome. Well, it was great to meet you and good talking to you. So.
Definitely. Love the work so far. So
Thanks.
Talk to you soon, Brian.
All right, see you.
Bye.
Hey guys, it's Dan, your community ambassador, and wow, what a big day. These teams just got feedback direct from Chris Roberts. I don't know what that feels like, but let's find out directly from the teams that do.
I had the chance to talk with Chris Roberts about the gunship and Next Great Starship in general, which was a pretty enjoyable experience.
We were very excited to have this call and we looked forward to it very much, even though it's already a bit late here. And now we're actually feeling very up.
And that was very useful, of course, and was fun as well.
You know, Chris Roberts is the main guy, so you know if you don't impress him, then you know you've got to change your design, I guess.
He reassured us that we were on track with our design. He really liked it, which was exciting.
I was expecting something entirely different, something way more reserved.
You know, at the end of the day, Chris is a fan as well as being the guy who runs the thing as well. I mean, like he wants to see something that is awesome at the end of the day, like not just something for like, you know, a financial point of view or, you know, for a marketing basis or something like that. Like he wants something in the game that's going to be, you know, worthwhile.
Overall, I'm pretty happy that he was impressed with the progress we've made with our ship so far, and that we're on the right track still so far.
I really felt Chris also gave us a lot of positive energy, and yeah, I think you can feel it from our reactions. It's actually 2 in the morning and we are not sleepy.
The feedback did little to change our priorities. Most of it was a little too much to change at this point. We've got an incredible amount of work to do in a rather short time.
Anyways, it was a great call. It was really nice to be able to meet the man himself.
You know, basically one of the legends of not just gaming, but also like, you know, the film industry as well. I mean, it's quite, overwhelming, I suppose, to you know, because I've never spoken to like a celebrity before, so you know that's pretty cool.
So I hope we can do that again.
You recognized the lamp! Yes, you recognized the lamp!
Next week, Chris will be giving feedback to the other 6 teams. Plus, I will be giving away free tickets to the finale. See you next Friday.